We couldn't think of a better thing to do than shoot hundreds upon hundreds of bugs.
When you're going to start the game, you can customize it. We're going to give you a lot of settings. And in these settings, you can really make sure that the game will fit, you know, how you want to play.
Going back and replaying it, yes, there is like parts where you just go down a path or whatever and fight enemies. And there's nothing. I mean, there is actually other stuff to do, is what the difference is.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was great to see like so many like different companies, and there were tons of games all over the place.
It's a good stress reliever. Anybody should just start their day this way. Just get it out of the way.
I don't get it. Like, you should be able to wreck a house in every video game.
You know, I've been here 6 or 7 months, and it is the only game that has ever made like a group of 5 people stay 3 hours after work just to keep playing it, which I think is pretty impressive.
It was, shoot, it was a Friday night even, wasn't it? It was Friday night.
Yeah.
We were there till 9:30 playing that game.
We couldn't think of a better thing to do than shoot hundreds upon hundreds of bugs.
The enemy is unscathed.
Should we explain what Earth Defense Force is?
Absolutely.
There's not a lot to explain.
Yeah, you defend the Earth.
Yeah, you are Earth defenders, aliens which take the shape of bugs and robots and dragons. There are 85 levels. 85 is a big number. It's a lot of levels, and you just kill things in every single level. And that's pretty much it. I think the only other thing to describe is how just dumb. I can't think of a better word for it than dumb, how dumb the weapons are.
Yeah, the weapons are dumb. They're dumb fun, though.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what was like one of your favorite weapons? Because there are so many to choose from.
The weapons are basically the reason me and Justin kept playing, is you get a weapon, and you're like, oh, I got to see what this does. Then you're playing a level, and you see what that weapon is, and it's so much fun. My favorite, I think, it was the sniper rifle. What was it called? It was a Japanese-sounding word.
The Raijin.
The Raijin is so good.
One shot.
Because we'd hop into those things that are moving bubbles, and we would hop in through the shields, shoot it once, it explodes, and then fly back out. It was so much fun to like find that weapon, and you felt so good for having it.
What in the world happens when the giant insects evolve?
I like the weapons that, I mean, they're dumb like you said, but they're not like, they're not, you know, they're not clever dumb. It's not like a like a boxing glove with spikes on it or something. It's just
like a unicorn farting rainbow lasers out its ass, or
it's just like pure glow. You're just shooting this ball of glow. It's like the guy just went home early that day when he was making the effect for that gun. It's just shooting glow, and then it just explodes like everything.
One of my favorite moments is I started a level, and within the first 5 seconds I saw a row of semi-trucks. And I just was like, I'm going to shoot all of these. And before I did anything, I blew up every single semi-truck in a line. Like, I would just blow up one, move on to the next, blow up another one. And it's like, thank you. Thank you for letting me do this. It's so much fun.
There was one gun I would fire, I think it was the Raijin, that would just freeze the game.
No, the monster.
That was the monster.
It's a sniper cannon called the monster. And every time you pulled the trigger, there was a chance it could, you know.
It would freeze the game for like a full second, and then things would pick up again. It was like fun to like wreck the game like that.
But I feel like they made a decision where they're like, okay, if we make this weapon that kills everything, it's going to destroy the frame rate.
Yeah.
Okay, put it in.
You know, sacrifices have to be made. Buildings have to be leveled. Frame rates have to be wrecked, right? You got to do what you got to do.
I don't need it to be an incredible looking game. I don't need it to have 60 frames per second. It wants to make me feel as cool as possible for just killing things and it accomplishes that. Like, I don't know what else I could ask. It would be hard for me to criticize it. Like, I feel like I would just be doing it because we perceive that all games have to have the exact same things, you know?
It kind of shatters all the like standards that you had set. You're like, okay, I'm gonna look at a game by, you know, like how many hours of gameplay or like whatever, the graphics and like, you know,
story.
Like all this stuff, all that out the window. It's like I have a giant sword that's like a foot thick, and it ceases to be a sword because you can't cut something with something that isn't sharp, like because it's a foot thick. And yet I can slice it, and then it hits a spaceship out of the air, and yet it's nowhere near it, and it blows up.
My favorite statement about this game was, I think someone said, "It's so bad it's good," and then Steve corrected that person and said, "It's so good it's good."
So we are on the eve of Thief coming out, and I'm just going to ask right off the bat, what are you most excited about with this game finally hitting the store shelves?
It's finally done. No, it's been a long journey, let's say. So finally, yeah, we are very, very, very happy that it's not just us playing this game. It's going to be you, it's going to be people. And we are really happy also because we feel that we respect the legacy of this amazing franchise. We feel that, you know, if you are a 2014 player, you should enjoy the game. But if you are the type of player that you're in love with this franchise since the beginning, you should have fun also. I think we respect the gamer.
How did you guys really modernize Thief, which already had all of these kind of advanced concepts back then, and, you know, bring it to the players?
It's been a big challenge for us to make sure that, okay, we really want to talk to this new generation of player, and like I said, at the same time, making sure that people who are still in love with this game will tell us that yes, it's still a Thief game. So how we did it, it's really by, when you're going to start the game, you can customize it. We're going to give you a lot of settings, and in these settings, you can really make sure that the game will fit, you know, how you want to play. Do you want to have a lot of clue on screen, or you just want to have the game, no HUD, nothing? It's really, really flexible. This is how we're going to talk to all these generation of players.
What would you say Thief's kind of showpiece, little gimmick, little novelty is?
Personally, I really like we call it the swoop. It's really something that
it feels good to do.
Exactly, and it's really flexible. I mean, it's not just in a single direction. You can back and you can avoid an obstacle. So that type of detail in the game, you're going to feel that it's respect. Again, I'm going to repeat myself a lot, but it's very important for us. I think it really respect the philosophy of Thief, but with that touch of 2014. You know, we worked very hard to make sure that you won't fight with the mechanic.
And you mentioned touch, and I hate to use the word visceral, but I'm thinking about his hands in the game, and the lock picking, the feeling around the paintings for the switches. Yeah. When did you guys decide to actually have him be more than this floating camera, have him actually be a character, you know, hauling the bodies, feeling things, and that kind of almost really bringing out the sense of touch?
What is a thief? And yes, you're going to have different tools, you know, the bow, for example, different type of arrows. It's really powerful. But we feel that at the beginning, the most powerful tools you can have as a master thief, it's really this, you know? It's with this you pick objects. So that's why we put a lot of attention with the realism, how you know, how precise the looks, the texture and stuff like this.
I'm super excited about the hub. I love small, intimate worlds that you can know, and I've seen the levels have like all these individual pieces of loot you can find. But was it a hard decision to decide to add a hub?
So how we decided to divide the game is really after each mission you're back in your hideout, and here you can visit the city, and this is where you will feel that you are, you know, above the law, you know, the impunity. You're going to be able to just walk in the city, and if you feel that this building is attractive and you would like to maybe to have a look in the building and see if there is some precious object, you can go. So it's really, you're free to do it. You're going to have side quests in the city, tons of objects to find. I mean, honestly, I'm in charge of the game, and every time I play, I cannot find everything. Honestly, the lead game designer and lead level designer, they drive me crazy. I mean, it's just impossible to find everything.
In one of the latest trailers, there was a really quick shot of like zombies or ghosts kind of like poking through the walls, and some people were down with it. Our own Kyle Bossman was like, why does there have to be a supernatural thing? I'm curious, what do you have to say to fans that they see that and they're like, oh, I didn't really think it was going to be that sort of game?
Honestly, if you watch the previous title, this aspect is there. So we decided to have this because it fits really with Thief. There is a lot of people are still talking about a thing. It's I have a blank. I think it's the Cradle. The name
the
of
Cradle.
The Cradle. Sorry.
Yeah, there's the excellent level breakdown in like PC Gamer, I think, a couple years ago.
Exactly.
Years ago.
It's the type of experience that people are expecting from a Thief game. So this is where we said, okay, it's really part of the DNA of this franchise. So yeah, we feel that it really fits with this.
When Thief was first showed to the press at GDC last year, there was a very positive response. People were saying there's no way this game could exist, maybe something was being faked under the hood, it looks too good to be true. And then at E3, when more people got eyes on it and it was a different demo, people were less than pleased from the GDC showing. I'm just curious how this kind of affected the team at home base and how this kind of focused your shift of showing off the game to people in the remaining months before the game shipped.
Tough question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Honestly, working on this project has been challenging for the team because we noticed that a lot of people, they have a specific idea what they want with a new Thief. So for some people, by having that type of gameplay, it's not possible. The other one, it's not possible to do that. So honestly, we had to say, all right, we are going to listen, of course. We're going to make sure that we are going to learn from what people will say. For example, at the GDC, we used to have at E3, experience point. You headshot and you received experience. And people said, okay, what is that? It's not in the brand and stuff like that. So we said, okay, we're going to remove this. At the same time, we said, okay, we can listen, but also we have to trust our expertise. I mean, IDOS Montreal, we did it for Deus Ex, and it's been a success. We said, okay, if something that we learned from the Deus Ex team is this, trust your instinct. Sometimes you listen, and sometimes if you feel it's the way to go, please move forward and do it. So we tried to, take some feedback and just say, okay, this one is not really, let's forget about this one and let's move forward.
And finally, can you translate this for me? Je suis le grand fromage.
You are a big cheese.
I can do that.
Lightning Returns just came out, and now the Final Fantasy XIII series, which has been going on for almost 4 years now, is finally over. For some, that's a huge relief, including myself. I really think the 13 series is taking the Final Fantasy name and kind of torn it apart. It doesn't have the same respect that it once did. And I wanted to talk to you guys, because you're some of the biggest Final Fantasy fans in the office, about how you feel about the 13 series as a whole. Did it do anything good? Are you glad it's over? I'm just trying to gauge the room here.
I mean, on the PlayStation, we had 7, 8, and 9 on there. Just like, that was all on one console and not too far apart. I think sometimes a year apart. And during that time, it always seemed like they had a clear plan for what's after it. I think they announced 8, 9, and 10 around the same time, or it was like 9, 10, and 11. They used to announce way far ahead of time, these are our next Final Fantasy games, look forward to these.
Right.
All we've had for this past generation is 13. That was it.
It's really depressing when you say it like that.
Yeah.
I feel like. Because, one of the biggest appeals of Final Fantasy, at least to me, is you always get a fresh start, So if you don't like that world and you don't like those characters, you don't like anything about it, you're going to get something completely new in the next installment. And playing Lightning Returns, I thought to myself, I'm still dealing with this shit. I can't escape it, I think there is some good stuff in the Final Fantasy XIII universe. They have some interesting religious undertones. They have this central theme where you're trying to fight your fate. but the way they present it is so convoluted. And I think really the highlight of that is the data log is in all 3 Final Fantasy XIII games. And it really is a goddamn encyclopedia. And the only way you have any hope of having a semblance of understanding of this series is by reading every single entry.
And both of you read every single day.
Well, you know, we're in it.
It kills the flow of the game. Like,
it does.
Absolutely.
Those things pop up every 10 seconds.
What other Final Fantasy game needed a data log? You know, like that to me is a writing problem. That means you should, as your team of writers should be like, if we need to include this thing, we're not presenting the information well enough.
It's like a cheap way of explaining the character's feelings and emotions because they can't do it in the gameplay or the cutscenes because a lot of them are from character's point of view. Like some of them are from Lightning and she's like, oh, this is how I'm feeling right now. Like I don't know about this. And it's like not portrayed well.
No, you guys hit the nail on the head. And then like what stood out to me the most was just like in 13.2, during the loading when they gave you like the summaries of the events from 13. Not only does it like, wow, like that's what really happened in 13. But also, wait, I'm pretty sure nowhere did this ever happen. You guys just explained this. Something off screen happened in 13 and you're explaining it here, and that helps 13 make sense. Like comparing Final Fantasy X to 13, because there was roughly almost, not quite 10 years, but almost 10 years difference between those two. Especially now I can talk about this much, like replaying Final Fantasy X HD from what I've seen so far, is that both games do have, like, a lot of people point back to Final Fantasy X saying, that game was very linear too. Like, why didn't a lot of critics go back and, like, why weren't they panning it then, but now they are? Is it because we've changed so much in those 10 years?
Right, yeah.
Going back and replaying it, yes, there's, like, parts where you just go down a path or whatever and fight enemies, and there's nothing, and there is actually other stuff to do is what the difference is. Like, 13 was literally run down a corridor, fight some enemies, watch a cutscene, do a boss battle, and until like the very near the end when you got like those monster hunter battle, not monster, but the hunting quest.
I actually completely agree with you, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's not so much what bothers me about the gameplay in Final Fantasy XIII is not the way. I don't care as much about running through corridors. I mean, I would prefer more wide open areas, but it's just that they restrict you. They don't give you things quickly enough. Like, it takes you forever to get a full party. It takes you forever to be able to summon anything. It takes you forever to be able to get all the paradigms so you can actually use the battle system the way it was intended. That's my biggest issue with it. Whereas I'm playing Bravely Default and, you know, in 5 hours, I already have so many things to experiment with. I have so many things to play with. And that's what I miss the most. Just give me things. Don't think I can't handle it. I think a lot of it is the consequence of expectation, right? I can imagine board meetings at Square Enix where they're like, all right, and Resident Evil 6 suffered this as well. I guarantee it. We have to hit, Final Fantasy is big. It's already a colossal thing in the gaming world. We have to make it bigger, right? And I feel like that mentality informed so many decisions in Final Fantasy XIII.
I think they were surprised we didn't like Snow. I'm dead serious. It's like, whoa, you don't like that guy? We made him for you.
Right, cool. we studied you. Guys. This is you. We took all of you and put it into one person, yeah.
Don't worry. I'll handle the bad guys. Come on.
The one thing I'm worried about with 15 is the guy writing the scenario, the story, is the guy that wrote the, what is it? Is it like the novella for
He wrote
10.
the 2.10, 2.5 or whatever, like for Final Fantasy X, there's a god-awful sequel to Final Fantasy X and X-2.
It's like an audio book?
I'm going to sum it up. I'm going to spoil this because you need to hear this.
All right, spoil it.
Tidus runs up to kick a blitzball, and it's a bomb, and it blows him up, and
It gets better, it gets better, it gets better.
And his head rolls along the ground, and Yuna like finds his head, and she has to re-piece him back together because he's made of fireflies from the far plane, because he's not a real person, and he's reconstructed. I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong, but this is what I read on GAF, and GAF is always correct. That's what happens, but then it gets better because Lightning strolls in. Lightning strolls up.
She's everywhere.
No, Tidus and Yuna start having relationship problems.
While she's assembling him?
No, after they've recovered, like they grow distant. And there's a part where Tidus is worried about, there's a new war, I guess, And Tidus is worried about performing in battle because Yuna is dressing too sexy and is distracting him from fighting in battle.
So the guy who wrote this is writing 15, and it's really bad.
I'm still going to look forward to 15. No, I
like
actually totally
Ryan
get what you're
Stevens said, I want to make a website where MOBAs don't exist. Okay, so that's why I'm doing this, right? That's the best way. I just want to